What is art, and is there really a correct way of defining what art is? Hi there, everybody, and welcome back to our art appreciation class. And in this video, my dear friends, we will be talking about the definitions of art. In reality, defining art is a very difficult endeavor, almost impossible actually. And that is the reason why art experts, art historians, and philosophers of the past and of the present were and are still debating on what art really is. But if there is one thing that all of them can agree on, it would have to be the fact that defining art is a long and continuous process. So in this video, we will have a glance on how experts and philosophers defined art through time, starting with the two great Greek philosophers, Plato and Aristotle. Without a doubt, Plato and Aristotle are two of the greatest thinkers in the world, but their points about art could never be more different. For example, Plato believes that art is not necessary, while Aristotle thinks otherwise. Well, the question is, whose idea holds more merit? Well, let's find out. Let us begin with the very controversial ideas of Plato. Well, I think it is safe to say that Plato is not really a fan of art, particularly poetry, because he once said that poets are liars and poets must be banished from the society. But why would Plato think that way? Well, it is based on his philosophy. Plato believes that there is an ideal world where everything is perfect. And according to him, we have seen the ideal or the perfect world before we were born here on earth. But the problem is, upon being born in this world, meaning earth, we tend to forget how the perfect world looks like. Therefore, our lives here on earth is just an attempt of copying the perfect world. Therefore, we can say that our lives here on earth are imperfect imitations of the perfect world. Well, at this juncture, you might be asking, Mr. Padilla, what's the point? Well, here's the thing. Plato defined art as an imperfect imitation of life. So let me continue the flow. If art is an imperfect imitation of life, and if life here on earth is an imperfect imitation of the perfect world, then by all means, art is an imperfect imitation of an imperfect imitation. It means, according to Plato, what art shows you is already thrice removed from what it actually is. And so if art is thrice removed from what it is, then we can no longer say that it is true. Therefore, Plato suggests that poets or artists in general are liars. And for Plato, indulging oneself into art is a very dangerous thing. Because according to him, art appeals to our senses, art appeals to our emotions. And sometimes, because we are overwhelmed with so much emotions, we forget about reason. So, to put this in a proper perspective, let us have an example. Well, think of a horror movie that you were able to watch recently and try to remember what are the things that you did and what are the things that you felt. Did you shout? Did you pull the hair of your friend? Were you that affected and scared that you can't go to the bathroom alone? That is exactly the point of Plato. Remember this, the monster you saw on screen is not real. The film is not real. There are no ghosts. But because the movie was created to be so realistic, you tend to believe that those things are true. And in turn, this led to you doing some stupid things. Oh my goodness, Plato has a good point, right? Next up is Aristotle. And as we all know, my dear friends, Plato was the teacher of Aristotle. But this did not hold Aristotle back from spewing some criticisms towards the ideas of his teacher. And so, let us discover the perspectives of Aristotle in terms of art. Unlike Plato, Aristotle believes that art is very important in a society. For him, art completes what nature failed to finish. So you might be asking, why is art important to our society according to Aristotle? Well, let me explain. So my dear friends, Aristotle believes that for human beings to function properly in a society, he or she must experience a plethora of emotions. But here's the thing, Aristotle also believes that as human beings, we have limitations. That is why it is impossible for us to experience a plethora of emotions firsthand. And so you might be thinking, aren't these two concepts contradicting each other? Well, yes, they do. But according to Aristotle, to remedy this contradiction, there is one thing that we need in our lives, and that is art. Art bridges these two concepts together. Let me give an example. Well, not all of us are lucky, or should I say unlucky, to experience pain and suffering. But for us to understand and for us to empathize with those who do, then by all means, we need to know how it feels. And of course, it would be outlandish and unnatural for us human beings to expose ourselves to real suffering and pain, just for the sake of it. So what is the solution? Well, experience those things through art. And during the time of Aristotle, they do it by watching dramas, particularly tragedies. Aristotle also added that while watching tragedies, the viewers can purge their negative emotions of pity and fear, or catharsis. And to give a modern perspective on that theory, let's talk about films again. Now, think about your most favorite sad movie. The one that made you cry buckets of tears. And then try to remember what happened when the film ended. Because most people would say that they felt a certain kind of relief. And you might be asking, where is this certain kind of relief coming from? Well, according to a lot of people, they would say that while watching the film, they were able to empathize with the character. They felt what the character was feeling. But when the movie ended, they realized that all of the bad things happened not to them, but to the character. So they experience pain and suffering not in real life, but through the characters in the movie. Well, that's about it for this video, but before we end, let me ask you one question. If you are to choose one team to side with, who would you be with? Are you Team Plato or Team Aristotle? Finally, if you want to know more about their philosophies about art, then by all means, read their works. Plato's Dialogues and Aristotle's Theory of Poetry and Fine Art. And by the way, these two books are my references for this video. So, thank you for watching and see you again next time. Bye everyone!